When you think about unions and management, the picture that usually pops into your head is, well, conflict, right? It's that classic us versus them battle. But what if that whole adversarial setup is actually the thing that's poisoning the well, creating these toxic workplaces in the first place? Today, we're going to look at a totally different path, one where the union isn't just a shield against the bad stuff, but an active partner in building something genuinely great. So let's get into it.
Okay, to really get why this is so critical, just look at this number. A study from the MIT Sloan Management Review found that people are over 10 times more likely to quit a job because of a toxic culture than because of their paycheck. 10.4 times. This isn't just about people being unhappy. This is a huge, huge driver of turnover, and it destabilizes everything.
All right, so here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to unpack the real-world costs of a toxic environment. Then, we'll dissect what that actually looks like in a union shop. After that, we'll look at the union's role as a protector. And then, this is the big one, how we shift from being adversaries to partners. And finally, we'll lay out the blueprint for building a workplace that's actually thriving.
Okay, first things first. Let's be really clear here. A toxic workplace isn't just some vague, unpleasant feeling. It has serious, measurable consequences that hurt everybody, the employees and the organization's bottom line.
And what's so important to see here is how all these things are connected, like a chain reaction. That constant toxicity, it ramps up stress and tanks people's mental health. And what happens then? Well, people check out, they disengage, they call in sick more often. And the end result is pretty obvious, right? Productivity goes down, and suddenly the financial stability of the whole operation is at risk. It's a domino effect, and absolutely nobody wins.
So the big question is, where is all this toxicity actually coming from? The research suggests it's usually not just about a few bad apples. In a lot of union management relationships, the toxicity is kind of baked into the system. It's a predictable outcome of a broken process, a feature, not a bug.
This quote just nails it. The problem isn't always the people involved, it's the very structure of their relationship. I mean, if the whole framework is built for conflict, should we really be surprised when conflict is all we get? This leads to this idea of pathological interdependence.
So what does that really mean? It means both sides are kind of trapped in a system that just keeps feeding on negativity. It's a cycle where the very rules of the game are set up to create friction and mistrust. And in an environment like that, it is the perfect breeding ground for toxic leadership to take root.
We've all seen these behaviors before, right? Leaders who are only in it for themselves, not for the team or the mission. They're quick to point fingers, slow to give credit. They tear people down in public. And it's so important to remember, this isn't just a management problem. In a system that runs on conflict, these toxic patterns can pop up on both sides of the table. The sources are clear that sometimes even union officials can fall into these traps, which hurts the very members they're supposed to be protecting and just keeps that broken cycle going.
But of course, that's only half the story. Because even if a broken system can create toxicity, the union is also in the perfect position to be the antidote. So let's look at its crucial protective role. This right here is the union's most basic, most fundamental job. In a toxic place, trying to speak up on your own can feel like painting a giant target on your back. The union acts as a shield. It creates a safe way for employees to raise their hand and say, "This isn't right," without having to face the music all alone. And this protection isn't just an idea. It's got real teeth. When a toxic boss tries to humiliate someone in a meeting, a formal grievance procedure means there are actual consequences. When they try to blame their team for their own failures, the union can step in with legal backup to make sure the process is fair. But maybe the most important thing is that unions build solidarity. They break that feeling of isolation that toxic people depend on to keep control. Okay, so we've seen how a union can protect its members inside a toxic system. But the real game changer? It's transforming the system itself. And this is where visionary union leaders can shine, by steering the entire relationship away from a constant fight and towards a real partnership. And that all starts at the bargaining table.
I mean, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? If the very foundation of the relationship is this adversarial, knockdown, drag-out negotiation, how on earth do you build anything better on top of that? Well, the answer is you have to completely change the way you bargain.
This chart just lays it out so clearly. Over on the left, you've got the old way. It's a zero-sum game. Any win for me is a loss for you. It's all about digging into your position and fighting to divide up a limited pie. But look at the right side. That's a whole new model.
Interest-based bargaining. It's about looking for mutual gains, focusing on why each side needs what it needs, and then working together to make the whole pie bigger so everybody walks away with more.
So, what exactly is interest-based bargaining? Well, instead of walking in and saying, "Here are my demands," both sides start by asking a different question. Hey, what's the actual problem we're trying to solve here? What are our real underlying interests? For a union leader, this is a huge strategic shift. You're moving from just demanding things to co-creating solutions that actually improve your members' day-to-day lives in a lasting way.
I love this image because it shows you everything you need to know. You go from being opponents, staring each other down from opposite sides of a table, to being partners, sitting around the same table, all looking at the same problem. The entire dynamic, both physically and mentally, just completely changes.
And look, this isn't just some kumbaya, feel-good idea. As this quote points out, really committing to this process is a serious investment. And it's an investment that pays off big time, long after a contract is signed, by building real trust and creating a much healthier culture for everyone involved.
And when you make that investment, when you successfully make that shift from adversary to partner, the results are just powerful. You're not just putting out fires anymore, you're actively building a workplace where people can actually thrive.
The best part is that these benefits all feed into each other, creating this amazing positive cycle, right? When you have satisfied workers with high morale, guess what? Productivity goes up. And when your organization has a reputation for being a great place to work, it's way easier to recruit top talent. And that low turnover means you actually get to keep them. The system just starts building on its own success.
So let's just boil it all down into a clear strategy. First, it starts with a mindset shift. See each other as partners, not enemies. Second, you have to build systems that create real safety, like fair grievance processes. Third, you power it all with collaborative bargaining. Fourth, you make people the priority by investing in civility and psychological safety. And finally, you get aligned on a shared vision for the future. This is a real roadmap that both management and union leaders can follow side by side.
In the end, this is the goal. When the union and management can stop seeing each other as obstacles to be overcome and start acting like genuine partners, the relationship itself becomes one of the organization's greatest strengths. It actually becomes a competitive advantage that makes the whole enterprise stronger from the inside out. So we'll leave you with this one question to think about. Take a hard look at the structures, the conversations, the attitudes where you work. Are they designed for a zero-sum game of mutual destruction, or are they built on a foundation for shared collaborative success? The choice and the hard work to get there really belongs to everyone.